Back in the late 1930s and early 1940s, America was at war. We were in a time of crisis with multiple disasters, such as the attack on Pearl Harbor and the Holocaust. The people of America were in need of a symbol or even a voice to go to in a time of need. This voice was the Walt Disney Studios. Before drawing famous characters on posters for America to see in World War II, Walt Disney would draw patriotic comics for his high school newspaper during World War I. The drawings would feature things like his support for troops and his encouragement for people to go buy war bonds, and this doesn't differ from when his company made them for World War II. Later on, in World War I, Walt forged his birth year so that he could serve his country, although he was never involved in combat. When World War II came into the picture, the government was making companies stop producing their product so that they could help make items that would help the war effort, such as ammo, weapons, and combat vehicles. Walt Disney was worried they would ask him, and when they did, Walt decided to make them a deal. His deal was that him and his company were to make cartoons for troops and the public having to do with war matters, along with posters encouraging people to go buy war bonds and give up their scrap metal for production of vehicles and weapons. If they did this, they wouldn't have to shut down. The government took his offer. Disney and his team made many posters that included topics such as giving up scrap metal to make combat vehicles and weapons, and staying alert of planes or incoming attackers. They would commonly use their characters, such as Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, and some contained large amounts of Disney characters. These posters didn't include Hitler or other enemies, but mainly just characters encouraging patriotism. We all know Disney for their entertainment empire. Cartoon-wise, Disney produced many films, but there were 4 that were more popular than others. Most of these feature Donald Duck. These films include Donald Gets Drafted from 1942, Der Fuhrer's Face from 1943, Education of Death from 1943, and Commando Duck from 1944. In Commando Duck, Donald must go through many obstacles in order to complete his assignment to wipe out a Japanese base. In doing so, Donald faces crocodiles, Japanese army men, and he must quickly run away from a giant water balloon. In Donald Gets Drafted, he sees signs telling him how great being in the army is, so he tries it out for himself, but he then realizes it's not all fun and games. This cartoon also features another famous character and Mickey Mouse foe, Pete the Cat. Education of Death differs from all of these. In this cartoon, we go through the life of a young boy named Hans, who is being taught how to become a Nazi, and we see him do just that, hence the name Education of Death.
Yes, this lesson is the basis for the Nazi creed, for Germany will likewise destroy all weak and cowardly nations.
Wir sind die nordische Rasse. Alle anderen Völker werden unsere Sklaven sein.
Germans are a super race. All others will be slaves.
Wir sind unübertrefflich. Wir fürchten niemand.
Germans are unconquerable. They fear no one. Listen to the fanatic cry.
This cartoon is a lot more serious than the others, although it does contain some funny scenes. During this time, Walt started a partnership with famous author Roald Dahl about an idea for a story about little aviators called the Gremlins. Dahl and Disney created a book about the Gremlins promoting for a film, although the film was never made because of issues involving rights for the story. The film was in production, but then abandoned after. There's also The Thrifty Pig from 1941, where Disney changes their story of the 3 little pigs. They make it into the Big Bad Wolf donning a swastika band around his arm, portraying a Nazi, while the three little pigs are seen as Canadian citizens. Disney also made a short called All Together from 1941 featuring characters such as Pinocchio, Geppetto, Donald Duck and his nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, Pluto, Mickey Mouse and his band from the band concert from 1935, along with Goofy and the Seven Dwarfs in a parade encouraging people to buy war bonds and support their country. Not only did they make posters and cartoons, but they helped out in other ways on and off the battlefield. Since there were many bombings on American soil, people were afraid that an enemy would drop poisonous gas bombs on civilians, so people thought it was mandatory to make gas masks a part of their everyday fashion. The Disney studios made gas masks that looked like Mickey Mouse for the younger kids. Disney would also paint characters on the planes used in combat, such as Dumbo, Thumper, Donald Duck, and Grumpy. After Pearl Harbor, the Army invaded Disney Studios to use as a base. They were there for days. There was also a comic book-style booklet given to the school kids called Chesty and His Helpers. Chesty was supposed to symbolize the spirit of giving. Disney liked to do everything they could to help with the war effort. From making posters, training videos, cartoons, decorating planes, and helping out with civilians, Disney left an impact on the war in many ways. Walt was always a patriotic man, and when he saw an opportunity, he took it. Walt was a man with a mission, and like always, he succeeded.